The first time I heard my daughter cry like that, I thought she'd fallen. But when I ran down the driveway, backpack straps twisted in her hands, and tears streaked through the dust on her cheeks, she said one word through gasps. Ethan. Ethan was Karen's son. 13. Same bus route, same stop at the edge of our cul-de-sac. The one where the HOA's prized oak casts a shadow so heavy, it feels like a stage. That morning, he'd shoved her into the gravel after calling her trailer trash. The other kids laughed. The driver didn't see. I walked her home, silent. You don't show anger when your opponent is waiting for it. At the kitchen table, I checked the scrape on her knee and listened to her tell it again. Who laughed, who looked away, who filmed. She said Ethan's mom was standing near her car the whole time, smiling. That was the moment the story changed from a kid's scuffle to something organized. HOA Karen had been gunning for us since I replaced the front fence without her architectural approval. That fence painted cedar. Within regulation, height was her excuse to make me the villain of Maplecrest Estates. By noon, I had her first email. Subject line: regarding your daughter's conduct. She wrote that my child instigated inappropriate contact with another student, and that the board would be discussing disciplinary measures regarding the disruptive influence of certain families. Disciplinary measures for a 7-year-old. I took a screenshot. Then I pulled footage from my driveway. The lens catches the bus stop at an angle. I zoomed, frame by frame. Ethan's hand on my daughter's shoulder, the push, the stumble, the smirk, and behind him, a silver Lexus with HOA decals on the windshield. Karen, phone raised. She hadn't just watched. She'd filmed. That night, I started a new folder on my desktop. MCHOA, incident log. Every file, every email is exported. Chain of custody mattered more than rage. The next morning, I stopped by the bus stop 10 minutes early. Karen was there, coffee cup, sunglasses, that brittle smile that only HOA officers practice in the mirror. You know, she said, it's a shame some people move here without understanding the standards we maintain. I didn't bite. I just said, you're right. Standards matter. Especially evidence. Then I nodded toward the camera mounted on my mailbox. Her jaw tightened. Within hours, the HOA group chat was buzzing. Someone had told her that I was collecting footage. By the end of the week, I had 3 violation notices: trash bins visible from street, mailbox paint chipped, lawn edging too short. Classic harassment escalation. You document one injustice, and they flood you with paper. I fixed nothing. Instead, I photographed each alleged violation with date-stamped images and cross-referenced them with the HOA bylaws. Section 4.3.2 on refuse container placement. Section 2.7.1 on exterior maintenance. Every single one compliant. Then I sent one email to the board. Attached are photos disproving all 3 alleged violations. Additionally, I'm in possession of security footage documenting targeted harassment against my minor child by a board member's family. Please confirm a date for formal review before I escalate this to County Council. That line, County Council, worked like a lit match. The next day, I saw Karen pacing near her Lexus again, phone pressed to her ear. She didn't wave this time. Her confidence was slipping. The kind that only comes when someone realizes the narrative isn't theirs anymore. By the 3rd morning, Ethan didn't show up at the bus stop. Rumor said she'd started driving him herself. But the real twist came when another parent texted me. Hey, my son said the HOA lady told the bus driver not to let your kid ride anymore. Said it was for safety reasons. You might want to check that. I did. The bus company confirmed it. A temporary suspension pending neighborhood complaint. Karen had filed it under safety liability. That night, I sat in the garage with the footage looping on my laptop, the fluorescent light humming overhead. My daughter was upstairs doing homework. My wife wanted to move, but I'd already made my decision. If Karen wanted to weaponize bylaws and gossip, I'd meet her on paper with timestamps, clauses, and the kind of evidence that doesn't blink. And by the time I was done, the same HOA board that had cheered her would be reading apologies into the minutes. By the weekend, I'd mapped everything. Timeline footage, email threads, color-coded like a case file. Not rage. Procedure. Step 1. Establish motive. Karen's emails had always carried that same condescending subtext, as per community standards. Your family may not be a good fit. I'd ignored them before. But buried in her digital paper trail was something better than motive. Contradiction. In one email she wrote that all disciplinary matters involving children are outside the HOA's scope. 2 months later, she threatened to sanction my daughter through the same board. That's not just hypocrisy. That's abuse of authority. Step 2. Collect external corroboration. I reached out to the school transportation office. Their logs showed no record of disciplinary action against my daughter. So who told the driver she was suspended? The manager confirmed it. It came from a community representative named Karen Blake. Said she was your HOA president. Perfect. She'd left fingerprints. Step 3. Expert ally. I called an old friend, a local attorney who specialized in HOA litigation. Her advice was short. Get everything in writing, keep your tone clinical, and never threaten. You want them to overstep on paper. That became the plan. Every time they sent me a notice, I replied with precise citations. Per HOA bylaws, Section 2.7.1. Exterior paint maintenance applies only to surfaces exceeding 15% visible deterioration. Please provide measurement verification, or rescind the notice. I carbon copy the entire board, including the treasurer and secretary, to quiet members who'd clearly been bullied by Karen for years. You could almost hear their relief through the silence. Within days, whispers started that Karen might have acted independently. The board began distancing itself, but I wasn't done. I wanted incontrovertible proof, something undeniable. So I placed a small AirTag inside my daughter's backpack, not to track Karen, to verify the route. The bus now bypassed our stop entirely. GPS logs proved it, with footage from my doorbell cam empty street, same timestamp, and AirTag route data. I built a clean evidentiary package, Exhibit A. Bus footage showing the assault, Exhibit B. Email trail showing Karen's interference, Exhibit C. GPS proof of unauthorized transport changes. And then came the twist. I hadn't planned, while combing through the HOA as publicly accessible. Google Drive, yes, they'd linked it from the newsletter. I found a folder labeled Incident Reports. Inside were PDFs of neighborhood complaints, including one titled, Behavioral Concerns, Maplecrest Bus Stop. The author, Karen. Date, 2 days after the incident. She'd written that my daughter had physically attacked Ethan, and that the family's disregard for HOA rules creates a pattern of hostility. The kicker. Attached was a blurry still image, cropped from my driveway camera footage, my watermark intact. She'd stolen my footage and edited it to frame my child. That crossed from harassment into evidence tampering. I printed every file, hole-punched and indexed. Then I drafted a calm, methodical letter to the board. To the Maplecrest HOA board. Please note the attached materials documenting falsified incident reporting and misappropriation of private security footage by the current president. I am forwarding this to County Council, the school district, and our homeowners insurance fraud division, unless a public correction and written apology are issued within 7 business days. I dropped it in each board member's mailbox by hand. Cameras rolling. By the next morning, the HOA Slack group was imploding. Screenshots leaked faster than Karen could delete them. Someone finally called a special meeting to discuss leadership concerns. And that's when I brought in the lawyer. She sat with me in my driveway, scanning my folder, nodding slowly. This isn't just bullying, she said. This is a governance breach. You've got her on misrepresentation, privacy violation, and procedural abuse. We'll let her hang herself with minutes and bylaws. Her plan was elegant. Attend the meeting quietly as just another homeowner, blending in among the folding chairs and polite chatter. When the agenda opened for new business, I'd calmly request the floor under open discussion. Then, without accusation or emotion, I'd read aloud the exact section of the bylaws that Karen had violated word for word, letting the silence after each clause do the heavy lifting. Finally, I'd place the evidence on the table, one exhibit at a time, until the record itself told the story she'd tried so hard to bury. No shouting, no threats, just facts under fluorescent HOA lighting. I spent the next 3 nights refining my binder, labeling each section with sticky notes: bus stop, emails, tampering, bylaw, Section 7.4, misconduct. When the day of the meeting came, the parking lot was packed. Porch lights glowed. People leaned on car hoods, whispering. Karen's silver Lexus was front and center, spotless, like nothing could touch her. She didn't know that her downfall was already time-stamped, printed, and tab-indexed. Next step, the sting. The HOA clubhouse looked different that night. Same bland beige walls, same flickering fluorescent lights, but the air had weight. You could smell it, coffee nerves, and the faint temps of fresh toner from whatever Karen had printed to defend herself. She sat at the front table. Pearls, posture, power stance, flanked by 2 board members who looked like they regretted their choices and friends. A half-dozen homeowners lined the back wall, pretending they were just there for routine updates. Everyone knew why they'd come. When the secretary called for new business, I stood up, binder in hand, calm. The kind of calm that makes people uneasy. "Mr. Hayes," Karen said, that brittle smile snapping back in place. "We'll allow 3 minutes for your comments." "Perfect," I said. "I'll only need 2. I started with facts: date of incident, location, description. Then I slid the first photo onto the table, Lethan's hand, shoving my daughter. Karen's car in the background. The timestamp is bright and centered. Karen's lips tightened. "That's not admissible. Not yet," I said, flipping to the next page. "But this is." I read directly from the HOA by Section 7.4, Board. Members shall not use their position to pursue personal disputes or retaliatory actions against residents. Then I handed copies to the treasurer, the secretary, and the vice president, each page marked and highlighted. 3 separate violation notices issued within 72 hours. I continued. Each one contradicted photographic proof of compliance. That's procedural abuse. Then, a falsified complaint sent to the school district, accompanied by my private camera, footage cropped and altered. That's evidence tampering. A murmur rolled through the room. Karen tried to recover. "You can't prove that footage came from you." I slid a final printout across the table. My original watermark, still faintly visible in the corner of her screenshot. The same angle, same frame. The treasurer leaned forward, squinting. "Karen, this is his timestamp." Her voice cracked for the first time. There must have been a misunderstanding." I didn't raise my voice. "The misunderstanding is believing you could falsify evidence against a child and hide it in a Google Drive labeled public reports." That got a laugh from someone in the back. A small one, but it carried. The lawyer sitting behind me cleared her throat, then stood. "For the record," she said, "my client is prepared to file civil claims for defamation, negligence, and privacy violations if corrective action is not taken immediately." Karen's composure fractured. She started flipping through her papers, searching for anything to grab control back, but all she found was paper. "Mine." The vice president finally spoke. "Karen, did you actually submit this to the school district?" She hesitated. "Too long." "Yes, but only to protect the community's reputation." That was it. The line that ended her. The treasurer leaned back, sighing. "That's not protection. That's a liability." The board conferred quietly for a moment. Then the secretary announced, effective immediately, "The board is moving to remove Mrs. Blake as president, pending legal review." The silence afterward was almost beautiful. Just the faint buzz of the lights and the sound of her pen dropping. I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I just gathered my papers and said, "I'll expect the written apology by Friday." 3 days later, I got it. A formal letter, typed and signed by every board member, including Karen. It stated that the HOA regrets the mischaracterization of events and extends an apology to the Hayes family for the distress caused. My daughter read it out loud at breakfast. She smiled for the first time in weeks. A week after that, Karen's Lexus disappeared from the neighborhood. Moved closer to her sister, people said. The new interim president stopped by with cookies and a handshake. We laughed about how bylaws could be weaponized and how fast they can boomerang. That oak tree at the bus stop still casts the same heavy shadow. but it feels different now. The kids stand closer together. The parents nod a little more when they passed. In the end, justice didn't come from shouting or revenge. It came from receipts-plain, boring evidence that told the story better than anger ever could. So, if your HOA ever tries to make your life a lesson, make sure the lesson's theirs. Drop your story in the comments. Someone else might need the blueprint.